Welcome back, you guys. Very interesting build here tonight on a Glock Model 45. I'm going to kind of just take you through this. Definitely going to be a lot of detail that we haven't done before. Overall, I think we're going to get to see a lot of cool things. Before we jump into the cut work, I do want to show some of the stuff that the customer provided from the state of Washington. So when the box arrived, we ended up opening it up. There was a whole bunch of goodies and extra stuff in there. Kind of wanted to show that off, show the appreciation to our customer, giving us a little bit more insight of where they live, kind of the background of them. So obviously they are from Washington. So they ended up sending me this really cool keychain here. Pretty cool. Okay, we're gonna set this aside. We've got some other things that we're gonna go through. We have a magnet, which is stuck to the table here. Washington magnet, very, very cool as well. We have a shot glass, the Seattle shot glass. Yep, I'm liking that. We're gonna put that over here. Now we have a little bit of chocolate, nothing wrong with that. We always love our chocolate. If I don't eat it, the wife will or the kids will. Very, very cool. So this is gonna kind of give you a little bit more of an idea of the individual. Now, last but not least, we have the most interesting piece and probably my favorite of the whole lot here that was sent in, and that is the Bigfoot bottle opener. Look at this thing. That is some detail in the Bigfoot. Man, I love that. That thing is super cool. This could possibly be one of the coolest items that's ever actually arrived. Now, food is always good, but this thing is just like, it's super heavy too. It's like really solid. So very, very cool. We're gonna set some of this stuff aside. Guys, let's jump into the work of the slide. Let's go in detail here. We happen to have a lot of small detail things that we wanna go through. And I just wanna make sure that we don't skip anything. Okay, so let's talk about the slide first and foremost. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is cutting the slide for a hollow sun in what's going to be the top rear. So it's going to go back here. We're going to cut a front of optic dovetail. So that's going to kind of wrap up our zone in the back here. We're going to end up upgrading those to Trigicon suppressor sights for the back and for the front. So we're going to get a nice co-witness with the hollow sun. And the top front section here, I'm not 100% sure if we've ever done this on a 45 or a 19, as those are the same sized slides, but we're gonna end up doing top serrations. Now, you guys have probably seen the Raptor cuts that we've done through here and through the edges. The Raptor cuts themselves are cup shaped on the bottom, so they've got kind of like a cup shape here, versus the top serrations, which kind of go in, over, and back, and they're flat on the bottom. Now, I know we've done, we obviously do it on the Shields. We've done it on several of the larger ones. We've done it on the Glock 21, I believe. So we've definitely done it. I just can't recall if we've ever actually done it on this model slide. So overall, I think it's going to give us an opportunity to see some barrel, a little bit of an opportunity to just have a different design versus the Raptor cuts, and overall I'm kind of looking forward to that. Now, one of the other things that we're going to be doing to the slide is on the sides, we're going to be doing a shave and a single window. So starting from the rear serrations forward, come down, come across, we're going to shave that off. We're going to remove all the text. We're going to do a step down, which is going to remove all of the existing serrations, with the exception of there'll be a little bit left over here on the bottom edge, because we're not going to shave all the way down to the bottom. So you're going to see a little bit left over. Of course, on this side, the Glock, the serial number, that's all going to go, and we're going to have a single window up here. Now, let me kind of step back here for a moment and explain to you the order in which you're going to be seeing it, okay? We're going to be over on the CNC. We're going to do a lot of that work. Before we cut this window, we're actually going to be shaving the side. And before we cut the window, we're going to be going over to the laser and doing a drag and scale from the rear serrations all the way forward. So pretty interesting. Now, we're doing it in that, I guess in that process, or in that step process, because what we don't want to do is shave the sides, do a window. We're also going to be doing a cobra nose, and then go over to the laser and do the scale. And the reason why is because you're going to get some weird edges on where the opening for the window is. The laser is going to want to try to go down into there. It's going to kind of cut those down and into what would be kind of like a tapered edge. So we're going to kind of stay away from that. We're going to shave a side. We're going to do a laser for the pattern on both sides for the scales, okay? We're going to come back, we're going to do a window, and then we're going to do a cobra nose back on the CNC. So it's a little bit of back and forth here that's going on. It's definitely a thought out process. You need to take your time and go through this and figure out what is going to be the best way to approach something like this. How is it going to look the best, and what obviously is the correct way of doing it. Now, once again, the reason we're doing that is because we do want a nice, clean, smooth wall on the inside here. And if we run a laser pattern over here, as that laser kind of goes into that hole, it's going to want to try to cut those edges. It's going to look a little bit more butchered. So we want to make sure that we're just doing things, once again, in the correct order and achieving the highest quality result for the projects, for what we're doing. So that's going to be the right way to actually process that. Now, we also have a little bit of barrel work. I don't have the barrel in front of me because we actually started that work a little bit ahead of time because it's getting sent out for a coating. So the barrel itself has a drag-in on the top of the barrel. So if it was in the slide this way, we would end up seeing a drag-in up here, and then we're going to be able to see a hole here and holes on the top. And on the round part, we're going to end up doing what's going to end up being cherry blossoms around the round portion of the barrel, so all the way around it. So very interesting. Once again, that's already done. You guys will get to see a portion of that work in this build video, but I don't have the barrel in front of me because we've already processed that portion of it, because we do have to send the barrel out to have it hard coated. And in this particular case, it's going to be done in matte rose. So very interesting combat gray slide. Which you guys have seen before. We do have a Taurus that has a combat gray slide with a rose barrel. Really, really nice combination. I'm going to tell you that already. Those two go together extremely well, and we will see that here towards the end of the project. So barrel's already been processed. We're going to go ahead and get over to the Tormach 770. Let's go ahead and run the CNC portion of it, jump to the laser. We're going to jump back to the CNC and finish it up. We're going to obviously get everything sanded, cleaned up and everything, and ready for that barrel to come back. We'll show it off, see exactly how it comes out in the end as a full build. Guys, let's get over to the Tormach. All right, guys, let's take a moment here and just see exactly how this came out in the end. Really fine detail. One of the things that we had discussed in the beginning of this video was how are we going to process this request? And no doubt, going through the process and building the laser as a separate entity, the CNC as its own portion of the work, and then figuring out the barrel, you know, I had gone back and forth of the way to do it. We had discussed that ultimately at the beginning of that, and that was, you know, if we do it in a certain way, the laser is going to butcher part of the pattern. If we do it a different way, we're going to be going and trying to work around things. So I do want to talk about the work that's been performed. I also want to talk about the process a little bit and how there's a possibility this might have been one of the most difficult processes in order to lay it out. How do we get from A to Z, and how do we efficiently and effectively do that? So guys, optic cut, dovetail cut, pretty basic. You guys have seen that before. Ended up running those top serrations on there. Really, really nice overall. Very pleased. We have a different light in here than what we're typically using, so hopefully we'll be able to see that real nice down through here. Of course, we're going to be adding pictures from outside under the natural light. So one of the other things that you guys had seen on the CNC machine was the ball nose step down, and then of course the shaved sides. We removed the front serrations, leaving just the little tails left over. We then went over to the laser, ended up running the sides. We came back to the CNC, ended up punching some holes, and I'm going to be honest with you, that was probably the best thing that could have happened. And I say that because sometimes when I'm building a pattern, I don't get the full visualization of what's going to happen and how's it going to happen. Let me explain that a little bit better here, okay? So a couple of things. When we were on the CNC machine and we shaved this down, typically you would think, well, what you're going to do is you're going to create a laser pattern to fill this zone, and then you're going to run it. Well, one of the things to take into consideration is until you've shaved the side, you don't actually know how big that pattern is, okay? So if you were to measure from the bottom of the slide to up on the top, it's gonna come out being a certain number. Of course, you're gonna fill that with the dragon scale. What you don't take into consideration is that there's a roll here, okay? So as you cut down the side actually has a larger flat spot than what it would if you just measured it before it was cut. So we end up having differences in tolerances as far as it goes for doing the laser work. So this really is a building block, one step at a time, move on to the next step kind of process. One of the other things that I fought back and forth here internally, just how I wanted it to lay out, visually, how did I want it to look, what was the best way for it to come out in the end, and that was the side window. So this side window happens to be a little bit lower than what we would typically do. We've done this before on some of our other patterns. We do see this on stuff like the 509s, and there's obviously some other Glock patterns that we've done this before in the past for a specific reason, and this is one of the reasons we did it here. Had we had this window specifically in the middle, we would have seen a lot of little butchered pattern around it, much like we see on the bottom here. So we had to make a choice, okay, and that was if we put the pattern in the middle, we're going to see a lot of little dragon scale on the top, a little bit of it on the bottom. And then, of course, we're going to have the serrations, but we're going to lose this 1.5 inches of basic zone here because we're butchering the pattern, okay? So one of the ideas was, why don't we move the window down a little bit? We're going to gain the edged serrations that are still here, but we're also going to gain the dragon scale pattern between the top serrations and the side window. Ultimately, it ended up giving us a better design, a more clear pattern-based design. It seems a little bit more seamless from rear to front instead of up to here, butchered, and then a little zone here again. So there happen to be a lot of very large challenges in this build. Of course, we have the Cobra nose, as we discussed, the side window at the top. This happens to be combat gray. We're going to get to the barrel here in a moment. A lot of detail in the barrel too, guys. So combat gray is one of those interesting colors. I think it goes extremely well with black and itself, and ultimately rose, matte rose specifically, and itself is a very, very unique complementary combination. They complement each other extremely well, yet don't overpower each other. Like sometimes we see with like a gold barrel on some sort of a different colored slide. Sometimes something sticks out like a fishing lure, and other things are kind of like, you might miss something. But these happen to be very, very unique to themselves and complementary to each other. So guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this down. Let's show you this barrel. So once again, we will include some pictures. The barrel itself is done in a matte rose. Cherry blossoms all the way on the round part, so all the way around here. And then of course we have a dragon on the top. Now I will already tell you it's gonna be hard to see this inside of here just because of the actual lighting, and I'm still getting used to the way in which the new lighting works, how it reflects off of the pieces, how it actually gets that transposed into the video, what kind of clarity we get, do we have any issues with that actually focusing, that kind of thing. So I'm still learning a little bit of that. But guys, ultimately the pictures outside show it in its pure form, okay? So let's go ahead and put this in here. We're gonna go ahead and slip the spring on here just to make sure nothing falls out. I do wanna show you guys this the best we can. I don't know if we're gonna be able to see it. So we'll have to rely on the pictures, but you're not able to see the barrel all that much in here. The light is so far forward now instead of directly down that we're just having some difficulties. Oh, we can see it a little bit there. So ultimately, we're seeing a lot of barrel down and through there with the two patterns. I like it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I really, really like it. Definitely challenging on the laser portion of this with how do we get the pattern in there? How do we not hit the roll? How do we not have issues with going outside of our boundaries or in the edge zone? Biggest issue was the nose. It tapers off, and then it also has a roll and a curve up. So there was a lot of little pieces to this, very challenging. Overall, I like the build. I think it was awesome. I do think logically thinking it through, this is easily on the top 5 for brain power being dedicated to the process and not the process, if that makes sense. So ultimately, sometimes we see a little bit different challenges in each one of these builds. Sometimes it's, how do we get it in the vise? How do we cut it? How do we do a cleanup? How do we do a color? In this particular one was, how do we actually process it? What is the correct way to process this? And each company does that a little bit different. We see, we try to think it through and make it the most logical, the best quality, ultimately turning out the best result. And we see some other companies that, focus more on coloring and less on removing text off the gun, and they engrave through it. So everybody has a different way of doing it. We just happen to try to do each one of those pieces to the puzzle accurately, efficiently, and to the best that we could possibly do as far as what tools are available on the market. So guys, if you have not been following the channel, we definitely recommend you do so. This was one of the big ones that we had here. We have some other big ones here that still haven't been turned out. We have some big ones that have already been turned out. So over the last couple of weeks, if you haven't had the opportunity, you haven't been getting your email notifications because you're not subscribed, subscribe, get your notifications, watch those videos, go back and watch those videos, and share the content. If you think it's something that somebody else likes, if you think there's a piece of this puzzle that maybe you've got a different vendor that offers a service, share it with them, show them, say, hey, I want this side done, or I want this top done. There's nothing wrong with educating other companies and other individuals on what it is you're after. People do that to us all the time. They'll send us a picture. Hey, we don't like this whole build, but we like this piece. Can you do this on this other one that you offer? So we see that a lot. So share the content. Instagram is definitely the place to go. There's a ton of stuff there. If you want to see stuff in its truest form, Instagram really is the way to do that. And Facebook, because everything kind of gets posted on Instagram and Facebook at the same time. But they're pictures. Okay, guys, so the stuff's taken outside. It's under natural light. We get the right angles. We make sure everything looks good. And of course, we do encourage you to watch the YouTube videos. We do see a lot of those companies that are like, yeah, right there, take that picture, or I like that right there. And the idea behind it is that we do want to show you guys the videos. We do want you guys to be able to eyeball this thing 365 degrees, 360 degrees. It's been a long day. I'm filming this at night. You leave me alone. So anyhow, we would encourage you guys to be on Instagram, to go to Facebook, read the reviews. We're all over the internet. You can find us, Google us, NCEngravers. You'll find forums, you'll find threads, you'll find reviews that we don't know exist. You'll find actual comments from real people that have asked questions that haven't had work done, people that have replied from having the work done to those questions. So we get a lot of different opinions from a lot of different places. Ultimately, though, you know, if there's something challenging that you're wanting to have done, I think we might be the shop for you. Unfortunately, sometimes projects do run behind schedule. Things do turn up a little bit harder than what we thought they did. But in the end, what you're going to find out is, based off of our track record, we deliver. So that's kind of where you want to be with it, okay? So at the end, you know, ultimately everybody's happy, the quality is super top notch, and that is the company that you do want to support, especially in times like this when there are companies that aren't gonna, you know, they're not gonna have a door to open because some of them are closing doors permanently. So we, you know, support the companies that you want to support is the best way I can say that. So guys, if you need anything, feel free to reach out to us. We do have a contacts tab. We do have a number at the end of the video. We obviously have a webpage link. We've got a phone number on there. We've got all kinds of ways to contact us. Let us know what you want to have done, and we'll see if we can help process your order.